This is Larry the Bearded Wonder with World 11, and you're tuned to the World 11 Podcast Network. Press start to engage your mind.
Hello, this is your host Zoe, and welcome to Mind Over Media Podcast, a podcast powered by the World 11 Network. Here's a note for all listeners. I am not a licensed psychologist, and all views from the show are from my point of view or from the point of view of my guests. Please take this into consideration while listening. Thank you.
Spoilers.
As previously stated, there are spoilers ahead. While we try not to reveal everything about the media we cover, there are spoilers about the content. Keep that in mind as you enjoy today's show. Hello, everybody. This is your host Zoe here, and I know it has been so long since I have made one of these episodes. I've been going through a lot, and a lot has happened. So, today I just want to take some time and go over that, see what I've been up to, and eventually we'll get to why I had ODESZA for the opening song for this episode. So we got a lot to cover, so I hope you're ready. So let's get right on to it. I have been gone for almost 2 years now, and you might be wondering, well, what the hell happened, Zoe? Where did you go? Honestly, no place really good. I was dealing with a lot of stress. I was working a different job at the time. I had quit teaching, went into factory work, but now I'm back teaching. I was just going through so much in my personal life. Just going through, my mental health wasn't doing great. Things in my life just weren't going the best, and I just didn't have it in me to continue making episodes for the podcast. And also, just as you know, the world has gotten crazy in the last couple of years post-COVID, so, dealing with all of that. But there has been a lot of change in the last year. And you don't have to take my word for it. So say both my therapists, and yes, I have 2 therapists, but I've gotten a lot better. And surprisingly, what kicked that off was going to Bonnaroo last year. So if you are unaware, Bonnaroo is a music festival that takes place in Manchester, Tennessee every year. And it is, I believe, a 4-day event lasting from Thursday to Sunday. You can get there as early as Wednesday, but stuff starts to kick off on Thursday. And it started with that. A friend of mine asked me to go with them, and I was very unsure, very uncertain, one, for financial reasons, but also just didn't know if I was in the right state of mind to even attempt to be somewhere with so many people and so much stuff happening. But I'm glad that I went. It completely changed my life. And a lot of it was because I had finally had a chance to, as my therapist puts it, allow the me that I had always wanted to be to come out. Because while you're at Bonnaroo, you're not thinking about what's happening in your personal life. You're not thinking about what's happening, honestly, anywhere outside of the festival site. And, you're very much focused on what's happening. You get to pick what you do all day. And so no one else is telling you when to go to bed, when to wake up, where to be, and when. And just that freedom alone is something worth talking about. Just not being on someone else's time. Because I know we all go around and you know, you gotta go to work, you gotta go to bed, gotta pick up the kids, have to go to the store, and you feel like so much of your time is dictated by things that honestly you would rather not be doing. But while you're on the farm, which is what we call the area where Bonnaroo is at, while you're there, it's completely what you make it, which was great. The outfits were another thing. There were some outrageous outfits that I saw while I was there, and no one said anything. No one, was making fun of them. No one did anything. Like, you could really just be and express yourself, and that was a huge thing, too. I have a very alternative style of dress. Very, very goth, and that doesn't always garner the best of looks when I'm out there in, the everyday public. But while I was there, I never thought someone was looking at me and judging me at all. I mean, it really goes to the motto for Bonnaroo, which is radiate positivity, and that's just what everyone's doing. That was another huge thing about going to this festival, was everyone's handing out, things that we call candy, which are bracelets that we make, or, just stopping by and saying, hey, I think you look really cool, or, they're just really nice. If you need something, you could probably ask a random person, and they would be more than willing to give you whatever you needed. It's just a very collective, positive community, and you don't really get that in the outside world. They always say life can be cruel, but damn if it ain't been extra cruel lately. So just to go somewhere where there's nothing but positive vibes and just everyone happy and together, I saw people there of all ages and different types of artists, and it was just really great. Plus, if you're someone who loves going to concerts, imagine having that kind of energy that kind of just exists all day. Everybody's just in a good mood. I also got introduced to EDM while I was there. I had always had kind of like a negative view of EDM prior to going there, and like the people that were a part of that scene. And honestly, it's just what had been portrayed to me at that point about what that scene entailed. But honestly, the bass in a lot of those set was just so fantastic. There's nothing better than feeling just thumpy bass literally radiating your whole body. It was one of the few things, like, I have ADHD and also autism, so it makes my senses a little jumpy sometimes. But as soon as that bass just kind of radiated through me, it was a calm that I had not experienced really. It was just like not even necessarily in my mind, but it started in my body, and once it was there, my mind cleared. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just really in the moment. And speaking of EDM and getting into the EDM scene, my friend that invited me was super excited for ODESZA, and I had never heard of them before, and I gave them a listen before we went, and I was like, okay, this seems pretty cool. But what you hear from an album, or, on whatever music listener you have, Spotify, YouTube Music, whatever you listen, does not do them justice at all. Their show was transcendent, and I know that sounds like an exaggeration, but it is pure joy and bliss and at times emotional. The song, because it's EDM, so a lot of bass bumping and thumping, but they had this song called Higher Ground, and everyone got quiet and was just singing, and the words to this song are just beautiful, and the spectacle of it, and it is a magical experience. I actually went and saw them last summer, even after I had already been to Bonnaroo, because I just needed to see them again. And initially I thought my feelings about ODESZA were because of the things that I had imbibed in, I had taken while I was there. But to go and see them again, and just that same feeling, that rush, and you kind of just lose yourself in it. And it was a very transcendent moment. I became very obsessed with listening to them when I came back home. I even introduced them to my husband, and he got into them and went with us when we went and saw them again. And it is a magical moment. But Bonnaroo itself, when I came back home, I really wanted to maintain that feeling of freedom that I had while I was there. And I didn't want to continue living the life that I led. Shortly after, I got into EMDR therapy, because I was like, it's time to get rid of these feelings, these thoughts, and that were holding me back. And so I did that. I still have my talk therapist, which is why I have 2 therapists. That way one can focus on trauma healing, and the other one I can kind of talk to about, everyday things. And I came back from that and very much set more in wanting to be unapologetically myself. It helped me learn to say no, set boundaries, and that what I wanted was important, and it didn't always have to fit what everybody else wanted. It helped me identify where my boundaries even were. I had been not listening to what I needed or what I wanted for such a long time. I had lost that. Like, I couldn't even have really told you who I was as a person, because everything I did was basically to fit in with everybody else. But going and experiencing the festival, and definitely ODESZA, and having that feeling of freedom and calm, I was like, there's no way I'm gonna go back home and let what I had been feeling continue. Wouldn't have been good for me, wouldn't have been healthy for me, and it's definitely not something that I wanted to continue happening. So a lot of deep dive work in the last year, setting myself up, making sure that I'm doing okay, finding a better work-life balance, knowing what I can handle and what I can't. Speaking up for myself has been a big thing. So honestly, just a lot of healing has happened, definitely within the past year since I've gone to Bonnaroo. And I plan to go to Bonnaroo again this year. I'm so excited. I can't wait to feel that feeling again. And with that said, our session is over for today. This has been Mind Over Media, and I'm Zoe, and as always, remember to protect your peace. You can find Mind Over Media podcast in the World 11 podcast feed at world11.podbean.com. All spelled out, all one word. World 11 Podcast Network can also be found on all major podcatchers, such as Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Good Pods. You can find the Mind Over Media podcast on Twitter at Mind Media PDcast, and the entire World 11 network at World 1_1 podcast.